David Greenshield's on the line and asking about running back distribution. So here's my initial thought, then I'll turn it over to the experts, that if you don't want to cause a buzz, if you just want to get guys reps, and again, the running game being what the running game is going to be during the spring game, where they're going to run at 5 yards and somebody's going to come within a step and they're going to stop and they're going to hold them up kind of thing, then why shake things up? Even if you think Master Teague hasn't really looked good and these new kids look great, and even if that's the thought, why shake anything up by not just giving the distribution evenly? Or there's no reason to tip your hand in regards to what you're planning, even if they know at this point, and I'm sure they don't, because there's a lot of August camp left to be played.
I'm going to say I was very optimistic watching Maya Williams take the first team reps the other day when I was there. Master Teague was not available to do that. He was warming up and everything, but for whatever reason didn't go through a lot of the drills or whatever, or the 11-on-11 or 7-on-7 or whatever it was. And so that tells me he's next in line. And then Steele Chambers, Marcus Crowley are right there, and the two freshmen, Evan Pryor and Travion Henderson. I would look for a lot of those five. I would not look for a lot of Master Teague in this game. I would look for the other five to split time and maybe be divided between the two teams, 3 on one team, 2 on the other, and split the reps up like that, and get those guys each maybe 8 or 10 carries, maybe 15. I don't know. It seems like an awful lot. There's not going to be a lot of plays run in this game. I don't think they're really. I mean, they want to get as many in and get everybody work, but they also want to get it over with and move on to the whatever's after the game. So, I think it'll be neat to see even a snapshot who can break tackles, who can break through the line of scrimmage, who can make guys in the second level miss, who can rip off that 20 or 30 yarder, who can take the 15 yarder and make it a 60 yarder, that kind of thing. Also pass protection. If you see somebody getting trucked in pass protection or whiffing in pass protection, turning down somebody in pass protection, just saying, I'm not blocking him, then that person's probably going to go down to the bottom of the list, because that's part and parcel of what they need these guys to do. And catching balls out of the backfield is one more thing. Master Teague, really, we saw in the Alabama game, he just doesn't really have that flexibility to turn that torso to get back around and make those catches like J.K. Dobbins did, and Sermon to a degree was a pretty good pass catcher too. So I am interested to see if they utilize any of that type of passing game in this game, with the quarterbacks dumping it off to the running backs and what they can create on the perimeter as well. So, again, I think there's a ton of stuff, a lot of great stuff that we're going to get to watch out of the running backs.
Yeah, Teague does have at times, Tony, that look of a rock'em sock'em robot, kind of like as Steve is. It's just kind of like all straight up and down and side to side.
Like Batman, when he can't turn his head, he has to turn his entire body type of thing, I always get excited to see the running backs. Then the spring game happens and they don't run the ball and they don't run it well. And so then you're like, so I don't, I expect the depth chart for me, like Master Teague is number 1, but the ones in this game may not get much time. And then, as Steve said, Mayan Williams is number 2. And then I'm going to say Marcus Crowley, but these guys are all going to be split up. So I think we'll get a chance to see all of them, all 6 of them. And for, at least a quarter apiece, or not Master Teague maybe, but, we'll get a good look. But I keep going back to Maurice Claret in 2002, had 5 carries for 17 yards in the spring game. So, don't get too excited about what happens unless they look really good. You don't need to see Travion Henderson long to know he's really good. But if stuff gets shut down, remember, this is not the offensive line. They're going against a good Ohio State defensive line, and it's not made necessarily for the running backs to succeed. So if they do succeed, that means even more to me. And maybe that's one of the more important things in this game. If that if they can make that first guy miss and then get into the second level, then that's significant for me. Yeah.
Florida State went with the format of not playing a game and just playing offense versus defense. And I actually think that's not necessarily more valid, but it's easier to make it more valid because then you can keep the offensive line together for one thing. That's the unit that needs to play together. So it doesn't make a game fair when you say, okay, well, let's keep the offensive line together. So you got all the starters on one side. But that's the group above any other group to me that needs to play together. So I would make that a priority.
Well, and sometimes they will keep the first offensive line together in the way they do set the teams up. Like under Jim Tressel, the players would draft, so these guys would all get split up. But the week before the spring game is the Jersey scrimmage under Jim Tressel, and that's when it would be like offense versus defense, because that's when the offense and the defense play for the Scarlet jerseys. And so that was always the game to see. That was always the Saturday you wanted to be invited for that rather than the spring game. But here I wouldn't be shocked if the number one offensive line, as much as can be, is together. But again, Thayer Munford's not going to play long. You don't have Harry Miller. Matt Jones may not even be with the ones at that point because of Luke Whippler. And so even if they do put the ones together, we don't really know what the ones are right now, and they won't be there for long. But yeah, I agree. They've done that in the past where it's this group of ones versus that group of ones. So they have tried to keep the offensive line together in recent years, as far as my recollection recalls.
Yeah, they don't. I think the coaches just assign the team. Somebody asked, are they going to do a draft and all that? I think the coaches at this point for this coaching staff just assign the teams. And you'll see some guys probably even lining up at times for both teams, or playing a half on one team and a half on the other, or whatever, to balance things out, or as they script things, who's going to play with what team. In terms of the offensive line, they have like 15 scholarship offensive linemen. I filled out a 3 deep with a couple walk-ons mixed in there. I think one on the second team and maybe 1 or 2 on the third team, because a couple guys are banged up, like we mentioned with Harry Miller. Nicholas Petit-Frere was out there the other day, and DeJuan Jones was repping at right tackle. So I think that there's plenty of offensive linemen, plenty of wide receivers. There's depth at almost every position across the board when you factor in the walk-ons, that you can split the roster down the middle and have, say, 50 guys on one side and 50 guys on the other, and play a representative kind of football game. They don't do a lot in the realm of special teams. There's no kickoffs or anybody running down there to get injured on special teams. But I look at it that, again, it's a showcase for younger guys who've never played in the stadium, never played in front of, there'll be 20,000 people there, that many people. Just kind of a showcase for those younger guys is how I kind of view the whole thing. And, guys who played a lot of reps will see some FaceTime at the beginning, and then kind of go to the sideline and put the ball cap on and sit over there and clown around. So that's kind of how it usually goes.